Now, on Sunday, 26 people were killed in Texas when a lone gunman walked into a church with a semi-automatic rifle and began shooting. Now, as more details, of course, continue to come out about why this happened, and as more calls for gun control continue to fall on deaf ears of Congress, President Trump decided to go on a trip to Asia. Now, in this trip, he decided to say some very interesting things to the Emperor of Japan. Now, according to The Independent, Trump met with Japanese Emperor Akihito and Empress Michiko, hopefully I said that right, before a round of talks with Japan's Prime Minister Shinzo Abe on Monday. When the Emperor brought up Sunday's mass killing at a church in Texas, Mr. Trump had called it both a terrible incident and said that the killings can, quote, happen anywhere. According to, I'm assuming this is a newspaper, Mainichi Shimbun. All right. So basically he's like, hey man, look, terrible shooting, very sad, tremendous loss of life. And by the way, it can happen anywhere, literally anywhere. Okay, well look, that right there, that statement is painfully ironic because Japan literally has no mass shootings. They haven't had a mass shooting in decades. While this year alone in America, this has been the deadliest year of mass shootings on record. I mean, earlier this year we had Las Vegas, New York, Florida. I can't even list all of them. There are too many. So, you know, those are just the ones that I remember. On and on and on. So many mass shootings here in America. Over 30,000 people die a year, right? 30,000 people die a year from gun violence. So compare that with Japan. Okay. Now, Japan, again, President Trump said, guess what? Shootings can happen anywhere. Mass shootings. Yes, but they don't seem to happen very often anywhere else other than in America. I mean, for example, Japan. Gun deaths are measured in single figures annually. And according to gunpolicy.org, they haven't had a single gun death in 2013. Look, when you're like in Japan, overworking kills more people than gun violence. Spending too much time at the office kills more people. When in America, again, 30,000 people a year. And, gee, I wonder why. Oh, right, it's because they actually practice gun control. Let me give you a taste of what it's like to try to own a gun in Japan. Now, if you want to buy a gun in Japan, apparently you have to attend all-day classes. You have to take a written exam. I wonder how many of those self-styled Trump supporters would pass one of those exams or even be legible. I know I'm being mean. You have to take a written exam. You have to pass a shooting range test with a mark of at least 95%. Not only that, but there are mental health tests, there are drug tests, there are criminal background checks. Police even look for links to extremist groups. They check your relatives as well. They check your work colleagues. They ask some questions. Boy, does that sound like extreme vetting. If only we could do extreme vetting for people who want to buy guns and not for people who are refugees. Again, extreme vetting. Again, Japan, no handguns. They ban those. But you are allowed to have shotguns and air rifles. And look, to be honest, a shotgun is perfect for home defense. So, hey man, if you pass all that stuff, you want to defend your home against criminals in Japan. Apparently they don't have a very big crime rate either. Then, hey, you're settled. Okay. Now, the law also restricts the number of gun shops that you can have. In most of Japan's 40 or so prefectures, there could be no more than 3 gun stores. Of course, in America, we have gun store next to a McDonald's, next to a gun store, next to another McDonald's. So you can get your quarter pounder with gun. Okay. Not only that, but you can only buy fresh ammunition cartridges by returning the spent cartridges that you bought on your last visit. So it's very, very strict. Okay. So if you fire off a round, you're expected to bring that round back. Police must also be notified where the gun and ammunition are stored, and they must be stored separately under lock and key. Police will do annual inspections, and after 3 years, your license runs out, which you have to go attend the courses and pass all those tests all over again. Now, that is unbelievably strict. I'm not even sure I'd go that far. But that said, you cannot argue that it hasn't been effective. I know the biggest talking point is, oh, if you do gun control, then, well, only the criminals have the guns. Well, you look at Japan, that's actually not the case. In fact, it's incredibly rare for a criminal to have, for criminal gangs to access guns. So not even the criminals have guns. And get this, the cops hardly have guns as well, or at least they rarely use them. They actually must, according to the BBC, attain a black belt in judo or other Japanese martial arts training before qualifying to be a policeman. So, hey, look, that also solves another problem. There's not as many police shootings in Japan as well. And here's what's interesting. So, police actually have a tactic in order to go and basically de-escalate the situation. Get this. Journalist Anthony Berthaud told the BBC earlier this year that what most Japanese police do will they'll get huge futons and essentially roll up a person who is being violent or drunk into a little burrito and carry them back to the station to calm them down. They literally burrito people. That sounds lovely. I wouldn't mind being burritoed. Especially considering what the alternative here is in America when you run afoul of the police. Look, I don't know, man. Again, some of that sounds a little far-fetched, but look at where we're at in America, too. Maybe they're onto something. Obviously, no country is perfect. We are far from perfect. They are far from perfect. But all the other countries that have strict gun control measures seem to have something in common, and that's the fact that they don't have mass shootings like we do. Kind of makes you think. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.